Hey, moms and dads, don't you just love when your child reminds you about a school project at bedtime the night before it's due? With Skylight Calendar, you can avoid those last minute oops moments. It visually displays your family schedule in one place with different colors for each family member, so you can eliminate those last minute surprises that upset your kids. Skylight Calendar is a Wi Fi connected digital display that syncs seamlessly with all your calendars and visually showcases your family's schedule on an HD touchscreen. You can manage events, chores, and grocery lists on the go with the free Skylight app. This is a game changer for families like ours. And your happiness is Skylight's happiness. So if in 120 days you are not 100% thrilled, you can return it for a full refund, no questions asked. This is a great Mother's Day gift. And right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendars by going to skylightcal.com/calm. Go to skylightcal.com/calm for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That's skylightcal.com/calm. Okay, secretly, how many of you can't wait for your kids to go back to school? Look, don't feel guilty about that. Your kids maybe can't wait to go back to school to get away from their siblings and you, because it's hard. It's New Year's Day. For the last couple of weeks, kids have been out of school. You've been off of work. Everybody's been together, but your schedules are all messed up. You've been traveling. There's all this emotion. You're out of sync, eating the wrong things. And so here's what I want to do. I want to start the new year on a positive note. I want to give you 3 very specific things you can do at home and also in school so we can get some positive momentum heading into the new year. Because even though it's new year, everything, like all the issues haven't gone away. So that's what we're going to discuss on today's episode of the Calm Parenting Podcast. So welcome. This is Kirk Martin, founder of Celebrate Calm. You can find us and our New Year's sale at celebratecalm.com. So 3 things at home and school. 1, connect and control yourself. 2, create successes. And 3, affirm positive choices and behavior. So at home, let's start with connection. There are 100 different things you can do. But remember, connection usually breeds more cooperation and that relationships change behavior. You've seen this over the holidays. On those days where you were just a little bit on edge and your tone got a little bit shorter, it affected your kids' behavior. But when you were relaxed, when you reset yourself, it changed their behavior. So positive, remember, our kids aren't just looking for our attention. They want our intense emotional engagement. And that's where, look, even spending 3 minutes being really engaged, asking questions, being curious about something they're interested in. And I would take that a step further and say, bond over something that usually irritates you. Now, I've done this in the past. I'm not going to do big examples right now, but I want to just plant that seed. Like even take an interest in things you don't like your kids' music. I'll give you one that you're going to hate, their video games. And instead of just like, oh, you guys play too much, why do you always do that? Say, hey, I'm curious, what is it about this particular video game that you find so intriguing, that you find so challenging? What is it about that? What is it about that music that you listen to? What do you love about it? And just be curious. Don't try to convince them that it's wrong and it's ruining their childhood. Just be curious about it with some measure of intensity. It'll also throw them off because instead of lecturing them, you are now taking an interest in something they're passionate about. With older kids, ask them to teach you something and show you something. Maybe it is something with technology. It's a great bonding tool. And let's learn how to control ourselves. Look, that's a big thing. In early January, throughout January, I'm going to do a series of podcasts on learning how to break some of those patterns, a lot of those childhood issues, so that we can stop the reactivity, the yelling, the lecturing, because it just doesn't work. And so some of this is from patterns in our childhood. Oh, by the way, big announcement. Over the holidays, I just completely re-engineered, retooled reworked the 30 Days to Calm program. It's about breaking generational patterns. So if you have our programs, go into your Soundwise app, go into the app, and you'll see a new recording, a new workbook, and it's called New 30 Days to Calm. It's completely different than the one before because I've updated everything. I added, hey, dealing with childhood patterns and roles that we brought from childhood into our adult life that is sabotaging our relationships. Moms, especially who take constantly taking the temperature of your home, how to deal with your triggers. It's all new. I am super excited about this. So go, even if you went through that before, go through it again because it's so much of it is brand new. And if you don't have it, go to the website and get that. This 30 Days to Calm is included in all of our programs. But here's what I want to start the new year with. Let's start with something easy and get a win. Look, I'm not a big fan of New Year's resolutions. Why? Because everybody does them and nobody keeps them. Goals are fine, but some goals you hit, some goals you don't. I prefer to make commitments because if I make a commitment to my wife, to my kids, to my friends, I keep my commitment because that's about my personal integrity and it shows that I value them. So I'd rather you make some commitments and shorten the duration, right? Like this year, I'm going to stop yelling and break all my generational patterns. That's an awesome goal. But let's start with something a little bit easier like, hey, for the next 2 weeks, every time I feel compelled, because that's what your anxiety does. It makes you feel compelled to do this. There's no peace in lecturing or yelling. Every time I want to lecture or yell, instead, I'm going to sit down. Now, I know that sounds too simple and you want more, which is fine, and I give you more. But I want to start with something you can do. Because, look, it's not just about like, I'm going to stop doing X. Whenever you have to stop doing something, you have to start doing something differently. And sitting down is something that you can do just about anywhere you are. It will change your tone of voice. Look, it is virtually impossible to sit and yell at someone, right? Like even if you're Italian, that is hard to do. So sit, because when you sit, you will begin to reset yourself and you'll start to see the situation differently. And then you can change your tone of voice to the calm, even matter of fact. Then you can begin to lead and problem solve. But let's just begin very simply. Hey, I just changed one thing, and just watch how their behavior and their response changes when you sit and even when you use that even matter-of-fact tone. Okay, number 2, create successes. Now, look, here's the thing. Consequences tend not to work that well. And those red, yellow, and green behavior charts that we use in schools, they don't work. Partly because your kid walks into school, they're already on yellow, right? They know they're never getting to green, so they figure, hey, if I'm going to be on red today, I may as well just double down and make it a really bad day. And so the reason is this. There are 2 ways to handle misbehavior. One is you wait, the child misbehaves, does something wrong, and then you react and punish the child with a consequence. But what we're doing is we're basically punishing a child for failing. Or, look, I know my kids, I know my students struggle with this. So what if I proactively give them a tool to succeed? And so here are some tools you can use in your home. Give your kids missions. This week, as you're kind of getting ready to go back to school and get back in the flow, give your kids some missions, doing things that they're just naturally good at doing. One of those things is adult-type jobs. Your strong-willed kids are not always good at being a kid, but they're really good in the adult world. So actually asking them to cook a meal, just don't expect them to follow a recipe or clean up that well, but cooking a meal. We work with families whose kids change the oil or do landscaping stuff because they like digging in the dirt. It's very sensory. Helping you at your job. We have kids who will enter things into an Excel spreadsheet because they're really good at doing that. So look for some different types of missions, jobs, and challenges that your kids can do that they're actually good at doing. I like making things a challenge. I love having that treasure hunt in the morning, right? Where you wake your kids up and you're like, hey, hid your food, hid a favorite toy in the basement, in the backyard. Bet you can't find it. Gets their brains moving, gets them focused on completing a specific task. And I also like for success is sensory exercise. Many of your kids have sensory issues. Their bodies crave physical pressure. So younger kids, I love having an obstacle course in the basement or backyard, things they have to climb under, crawl over, push, pull. It's why many of your kids, they don't really do well at team sports all the time. So they're better at individual sports. So martial arts classes, rock climbing, anything that is very physical, climbing trees is very helpful for these kids, swimming. So those are ways that you create successes in your home so that you have an opportunity, more of an opportunity to do the third thing, which is affirm your kids for what they're already doing well. And look, when you praise your kids, a couple things about praise. Look, praise is just a simple acknowledgement of the truth. Hey, you did that really well. Hey, I like how you handled that. And you don't make a big deal out of it with strong-willed kids, because if we do the whole thing like, oh, honey, you just made a great choice, right? It sounds like we never thought you'd actually make a good choice and you just did, so we're going to have a party. And it draws too much attention to them, which they do not like in this sense. And it also creates pressure. And they'll often reject your praise because what they're saying inside is, no. Now there's pressure because you're going to expect me to always make a good choice. See, I like it to be very low key. I like planting seeds. Hey, nice job how you handled that. Fist bump. And then walk away. Create some space, right? I love, hey, I saw how your sister was irritating you and you just walked away. Shows me you're growing up. Hey, I heard you playing the board game with your brother, and I know that you lost and you started to complain, but then you said, good game. Man, a lot of adults can't do that. Fist bump, walk away. Praise is not hard. You don't have to think. You're just simply acknowledging what they're already doing well. Hey, I like how you handled that. Start noticing, hey, I like your creativity. I like that you, look, here's one I'll challenge you with. Hey, you know what I like about you and what I admire? You stand up for yourself. You're willing to speak up, and you do challenge me, and sometimes you do it in a way that is disrespectful. But much of the time, the arguments that you have are actually very well thought out, which tells me you have really good critical thinking skills. And that's what companies value. So I like how you think, and I can show you how to do it without losing all your stuff, right? But you're not making a big deal out of it. I love this one for little kids. And I think I mentioned this in an Instagram video a couple weeks ago. I Spy. Play I Spy. You know what? You're sitting around the table, you're in the car, whatever, and you say, I spy a girl in a blue shirt who is amazing at building and tinkering with things, who has this amazing engineering brain. I spy a boy in a red shirt who's incredibly creative, pictures things in his brain and then creates them. And even with older kids, you could do it with like a middle school kid. I spy a teenager in the same hoodie sweatshirt for 18 straight days who crushes it when playing video games and is trying to suppress a smile through his scowl right now. Make it fun with your kids. Relax a little bit, because when you relax and enjoy them, I guarantee the discipline gets much easier. Okay, what about doing this in the school setting? So we just moved into a new home with no landscaping. So we were thrilled to discover fast-growing trees. They take the hassle out of creating your dream yard. No more wasting your weekend driving around, being overwhelmed by big garden centers that don't have what you want. Fast Growing Trees is the biggest online nursery in the US with thousands of different plants and over 2 million happy customers, including us. Get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days. Their Alive and Thrive guarantee ensures your plants arrive happy and healthy. Plus, you get support from trained plant experts on call to help you choose and care for the right plants. This spring, Fast Growing Trees has the best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants. Plus, listeners to our show get an additional 15% off their first purchase when using the code CALM at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code CALM. fastgrowingtrees.com/CALM. Offers valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. So Mrs. Calm told me yesterday, I wish I had begun drinking AG1 sooner. My stomach has felt so much calmer and I'm more regular. My AG1 in the morning provides some consistency I really crave. And that's one reason I love my AG1. It's an easy, healthy daily routine. No messes, no blenders. We put 1 scoop of AG1 into a bottle of water, shake it up, and start our day with 75 vitamins, probiotics, prebiotics, and whole food sourced ingredients. Check out a special offer at drinkag1.com/calm. Look, I've got more energy, better mental clarity, and AG1 supports my immune health. And that's why I've been partnering with AG1 for so long. Be an AG1 couple like us. AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3 and K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So check out drinkag1.com/calm to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/calm to start your day with a win. So here's how we can apply these same principles in school. Look, can you imagine being a teacher after the kids have been out of school for 2 weeks on that first morning? It's hard. And so I like working with teachers, and most of the time you can. I know there's some teachers that are kind of rigid, but here's an example. Here are a few examples. You could begin the new year by sending the teacher a note or going in and talking to the teacher and saying something like, hey, Mrs. Henderson, I appreciate how challenging it can be to teach and parent, kids like ours. You and I have we share the same goal to ensure that our child is a curious student who loves to learn. What we've discovered is that our daughter doesn't respond well to consequences or timeouts, shuts down when they're overwhelmed or things get negative, and is struggling with feeling like no one likes him or her. Our typical discipline tools are not working at home either. So could we try something different for the next 2 weeks and see if we can make progress? See, I like setting it up like that, of saying like, hey, you're not alone. Like, we struggle with him at home. You're struggling at school. And so could we try something different at home and at school to see if it works? Because the red, yellow, green behavior charts aren't working. So here are some ideas remember our 3 things: connection. Look, as soon as our daughter walks into the classroom, could you ask her about something she's interested in? It's very simple to ask about their favorite sports team, a toy, their dog, a favorite flavor of ice cream. Connect over something. Something you could do with a teacher is see if you can find something that your child and the teacher, something they share in common, something they're both kind of into. Because when you share a common interest, it's much easier to have a connection with that person. Maybe they both love pepperoni pizza, favorite movie. That sometimes can help. But even as a teacher, when we had kids come to our house for these camps back in the day, I knew that they were anxious. And the first thing that I did, I'd look for something they were wearing on their shirt or something they brought. If it was like a Star Wars shirt, I was like, oh, who's your favorite character? And as soon as I connected with them, you could see they would just relax from that simple connection. Tools to succeed in the classroom. It could be this: hey, could you give our son a job, a mission every morning, doing something he's good at doing that makes him feel helpful and needed? Because that builds confidence. It helps with anxiety. When you tell a child, hey, I could really use your help moving those heavy books from the back of the room to my desk, right? Being able to say, hey, I could really use your help. Honey, you are so creative. Do you think you could help create a sign for our upcoming event? Could you help that new girl in class feel comfortable? Perhaps it's just doing something physical for the teacher, moving something in the room, because that kind of mission gets their brain focused on completing a specific task. They're often good at it, and our kids like challenges, right? Hey, you know what? The other kids are adding 2-digit numbers. Think you can add these 3-digit numbers? Hey, bet you can't do X. See, I like challenges like that in the classroom. So we've been through before having a blue backpack and a red backpack in the back of the room with books in them and saying, oh, I could really use your help. Hey, could you go take that red backpack next to the teacher next door? And then when the child gets there, he brings the other backpack back to the room. He's meeting some sensory needs by carrying a heavy backpack. He's completing a specific job. It takes less than 60 seconds, but I just created a success, which allows me to do the third thing, which is affirm for the good choices the kids are making to counterbalance the negatives. Look, there's absolutely no way you can keep a child engaged in class learning when it's always negative, negative, negative. We have to find and catch them doing things well. Hey, that was a really good choice. I appreciate you doing that. Man, you are so helpful. Remember, I've done the example of a kid who's let's say blurting out in class. Well, I don't just say, well, it's okay. I know you have ADHD, so that's hard for you. I don't make excuses for kids, but I can pull them aside and say, hey, I know why you blurt out, because you've got this really amazing brain and you're thinking of ideas all the time. You're like the next generation Steve Jobs, who's going to come up with some kind of really cool invention. And you think of these ideas, but you do struggle with short-term memory. So you get this idea in the middle of class and then you're afraid you're going to forget it. So then you blurt out. Well, blurting out's not acceptable in my class. See how I even said that? That's not acceptable in my class. I didn't say, you know what? You always blurt out. That's rude. See, once you go with a snotty tone with a strong-willed child and you go negative, they're like, it's kind of like, screw you. I'm not going to work hard for you. But I come alongside and I say, I know what's going on in your brain. You've got a really cool brain. I like your brain. I want your ideas. So here's the tool I'm going to give you. And we've talked before about giving kids 3 talk tickets, little cardboard tickets that they can redeem in class. So when, not if, they want to share their amazing off-topic idea and blurt out, because it's always off-topic, instead they get to hold up a talk ticket and the teacher can say either, hey, go ahead, share your idea, or zip, hold it till after class because I can't wait to hear it, but I want you to learn some self-control and impulse control because now I'm teaching them how to do it instead of just saying, hey, if you keep blurting out my class, you miss recess or the class field trip. See, that doesn't work. But now I'm giving the child tools. I'm explaining how their brain works. I'm letting them know, yeah, you just struggle in this area, but you're really strong in this other area. See, that's a beautiful thing to do with our kids. And now I'm giving them a tool. And so I can say, hey, you know what was really cool back in math class is you wanted to blurt out, you started to blurt out, but instead you held up your talk ticket. Man, that's called self-control. That is awesome. Or I've had teachers create a little box, an idea box on their desk, and the child, when they're getting one of their ideas, can just scribble a quick note on a piece of paper that has a little light bulb on the top of it, and then put it in that idea box. And then every day after lunch, the teacher pulls things out of that idea box, and they're mainly just notes, 18 notes from this one child who's got a very active brain. And the teacher gets to read those out and share them with the class. And it's like that child who is reading a book in the middle of math class, and instead of just correcting them, you know what? It's math class. You're not supposed to be reading. See, as soon as you go with that tone, I'm done. I am a grown man. If you use that tone with me, my first instinct is screw you. I'm not going to listen to anything you say. But if you were to say, hey, you know what I love about you? You're curious. The reason you're reading is because you're curious. I wish all the kids were as curious as you. Hey, it's math class, so you need to put away your book, but in 15 minutes, we'll have time to read. Or after lunch, if you want to share with the class what book you're reading and why you're so into it, man, I'd love to spark that curiosity in everybody else. See, there's a way to do this where you're not just shutting them down, you're not just shaming your kids, Part of this is teaching your kids how their brains work. And that reminded me, I got this really cool email from this mom, and I just want to encourage you with this. And she said, Kirk, no one ever gave me permission to listen to parenting information with my kids around. I have very little free time when my kids aren't around, and after they go to bed, I just want to relax. The fact that you encourage me to listen to your programs, and even if you don't have our programs, listen to the podcast with your kids around, totally freed me. Before, I had been under the assumption that parenting was like being the Wizard of Oz. We show our kids the great and powerful Oz, but try to hide the vulnerable human behind the curtain. I hadn't even realized that I was thinking that way. Why not let my kids see me trying to improve my parenting? What a great lesson to teach them. Relationships require effort, and we have to work to make them better. I can show them that I love myself and them enough to put effort into it. Plus, they can see that their inner struggles and our conflicts at home aren't isolated. Everybody deals with fears. Everybody has weaknesses and strengths and anxiety. And we need to learn better how to deal with them. So thank you. So I love that. I love kids listening to our podcast, listening to the programs, because it will spark interesting conversations. But don't be surprised when they're like, Mom, Dad, that's you. You do that. You lecture all the time. Is that your anxiety? Right? And now you can own it and say, yes, that's where it comes from, and I'm trying to break that. And then once you own your own issues, it makes it much easier to help them deal with theirs, because you're normalizing the fact that we're all flawed human beings and we have issues to work on. And then they get to see you living that out right in front of them. That is the one thing that probably changed Casey more than anything else, is him watching me wrestle with my own issues. It's not like it's a shocker, like, really? I didn't realize, Mom and Dad, that you struggled with that. Of course, they've watched you yell, listen to you lecture for years. And you do that because you love your kids. But it's a new year, and it's time to break those patterns. So let's do this. Let's focus this coming week. What are we going to do? We're going to focus on 3 things. We're going to connect with our kids. We're going to learn to control ourselves. And then we're going to create successes with our kids and then affirm them just for the good choices they're making. Okay. Love you, moms and dads. Respect you so much for working so hard. If we can help you, just let us know. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.